So you essentially dreamt about a man crying in an empty room.
Hello and welcome to the VideoGamer UK podcast. My name is Chris Bratt. There are 3 other members of the VideoGamer team here today. Aren't we all excited?
Mate, I've adjusted my belt and I'm ready to rock.
I've seen your bag of Skylanders, David Scammell, and it is not a small bag.
Beast mode engaged.
That sentence, up to "I've just seen your bag," sounded horrendous.
You're my rising star. It's Jim Trinker.
Jesus.
And hopefully we've got some more Diablo 3 updates today if we're lucky with Mr. Tom Ari in the corner over there.
You haven't.
That's a no. Oh, and we're already disappointed. What a great start to the podcast.
Well done.
Have you sorted out your TV situation?
Yeah, it's up now. It's plugged in.
So you could potentially be playing.
I could, but I didn't have time really.
So how does it feel going, because you've been playing games on a Vita, right?
Yeah.
You've been playing your PS4 games on a Vita, which is what, 5-inch screen?
Yeah.
So you've gone from a 5-inch to a 50-inch.
Whoa.
Hey-oh!
Gee, what was that?
I had to throw that in.
Jesus, man.
But so,
Is that what
I don't even know where I'm going
is that
from
the whole
there.
question?
It
was just
wasn't,
leading
but
up
as
to
soon as
that?
I said it, I was like, I have to do it.
That was the best joke I've ever told.
That's thrown in there for the At the Shaggers audience.
Whee!
All right. Well, who wants to kick us off today? It's been a pretty decent week for video games. I've got a statement from Stephen Burns to read out later.
Yes. Well, do you want to read that now, or
Get
we're going to do it later?
Oh, yeah.
Do it now.
I guess he actually did play the biggest game.
Well, we could all talk a bit about it, because we've all seen, except you, Tom.
Yeah.
Us
Yeah.
three,
Alright.
we've seen the opening to it. But
Well, I'll kick us off
Why
with...
is he? Does this explain why he's not on this podcast?
No, not at all.
Basically, because he thinks he's too important.
Yeah, he did actually use those words pretty much.
he's gone to buy a suit, hasn't he?
No.
No, he has. He has. You don't know about it, but
Hopefully
he
he
has.
hasn't.
Okay, so Stephen Burns has this to say. The Evil Within is a very good game. I enjoyed playing it and the crossbow is good. Sometimes you have to sneak. Sometimes you have to shoot. It is always a very tense experience. Yeah. P.S. Kill all games journalists. Thanks for that, Steve. It was like you were here all along.
He keeps threatening to get that on a T-shirt to attend industry events with.
Yeah.
And I, for one, I'm completely behind
I'm sure
it.
we're not included in that statement. Probably.
You are.
No, we definitely are.
I'm not a games journalist.
We're barely games journalists, let's be honest.
Exactly, right?
We're just...
You are the games journalist here,
Yeah,
Dave.
that's true,
You
Dave.
report news.
Yeah, we
and break
don't do
stories.
news. We do jokes
do we
about
do?
abusive fathers.
The news runs from my shoulders,
Right?
but let's leave it at that.
Okay, good. So, The Evil Within. We weren't the first review to go live, by the way, were we? There was someone else that got slightly ahead, but we were pretty early.
Well, we were one of those smaller blogs that, unfortunately, were not provided with a copy.
That was it, yes. We weren't sent a review copy to the office, so instead we found another one somewhere and decided to review it early because we hadn't
Just found it out the
anything.
back door.
By found, we did buy it. We didn't steal it or
Yeah.
get it in a bin.
We
It
did
was
buy it
purchased
quite
with money.
legitimately.
Yeah, sure.
Actual proper cash.
I believe you guys. I don't know why you're getting so
A lot of
defensive about
fucking
this.
cash
Oh,
as well.
don't,
Like we had.
Chris. 'Cause like that. See that suggestion that was bandied about by a couple of pillocks the other day. Really irritated me.
All right. Well, let's not do
Let's
that.
not go into that.
Someone handed over cash
Yep. And we
in
got
a brown
game
paper
received.
bag. Sorry.
All right. So
But we've all seen the opening.
we all watched that kind of.
We saw about an hour of it, I guess.
I
Right?
stuck around for a little bit longer.
Maybe slightly less.
Yeah.
But
I think I saw to the end of the 3rd chapter, I believe.
I think I was there till the end of the 2nd one.
Yeah.
But
So it's weird, isn't it? Because that game has 2 introductions, pretty much, 2 openings.
Yeah.
Like the very first chapter in that game, you're a policeman, and you start off heading towards some kind of hospital where there's some
a
crime.
psychiatric hospital.
Some crime is happening, no doubt. It's a really
Why is
weird
there no
opening,
doubt
isn't
there's
it?
a crime happening?
Because you're a policeman in a car heading towards something.
You're making judgments
and you're all
on the place
talking. No,
you're
you're all
in.
talking about something that's going
Look,
on. There.
you're one of these policemen. Everyone's guilty before they're even, tried.
I don't know. He
he
was
could be going
heading.
to visit his mum.
He wasn't, because they're talking about what could be going on.
Did
at
he
the
have
hospital.
flowers with him?
And at no point were they talking about any kind of family situation,
Grapes.
or anything like that. Nope,
Nothing like
just
that.
guns.
All right. Okay.
And yeah, so you kind of you go in there. You have like a kind of a weird horror kind
a
of
moment.
introduction
You have a
with
moment.
a guy that's chopping up meat, and the meat is
The meat chopper is a classic of this
is
genre.
human
isn't it?
flesh.
So he finds a load of dead people at this hospital. And there's a guy chopping them up in the hospital.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And you have to run away from him, and there's no combat or anything like that. It's simply you're trying to escape. There's lots of cutscenes. It's heavy on the weird side of that story, and then some stuff happens there, and then the game kind of starts again outside of the hospital after you've escaped.
Yeah.
And then the gameplay wise, everything changes because then it's about it becomes the kind of survival horror game where you're picking up limited resources. It's all about like ammo in that game is so scarce. I don't think you saw it like in that third chapter in particular, just after you guys left. Like we had no way of fighting against these zombies, whatever you want to call them, and it was like every trap that we saw, we instead of disarming it, we had to use it to try and take out enemies because we just didn't have anything to actually fight them with. And yeah, it feels like two completely different starts to the game.
See, now I don't know if what I'm about to say is an absolutely massive spoiler,
Right.
but
Are you sure you want to say it?
it's hinted at on the back of the box. So
Okay.
let's go from there. So I read a couple of weeks ago, and if you actually do not want to know anything about this, even though it's alluded to on the back of the box, turn the volume down right now. You've got about 3 seconds, otherwise I'm about to blurt it all out. Right, here we go.
1, 2, 3. Oh god, no, we haven't. Go back. Turn it down again.
I read that the game,
Right.
at least part of it, is set in his mind.
Yeah.
Is that the idea? Are you supposed to know that going in?
That's not a spoiler, I don't think.
Because the back of the box says, I think it says, enter the mind of a madman.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to know that going into the game, that it's all just sort of completely made up in his head, or what?
The moment you escape from that hospital, something happens, and from that point onwards, there's this kind of hub world that you use to save the game and to upgrade, right? And
That thing where it connects into his brain.
that stuff, it seems to suggest that is in a different kind of reality. Either that's the side of the game that's in your mind and you're all kind of making it up, or it's the rest of the game is. Which I kind of think that's probably where it's going.
So is it Mind Jack?
Mind a Jack.
You guys have seen the way that you upgrade your abilities in that game, right?
Yeah, you sit in a chair and it...
That is a gruesome way of improving your stats.
It's just kind of spikes in the head, isn't it?
Like you say that like it's a normal thing. I don't think it's a normal thing. And yeah. So I don't think that's a massive spoiler. No, I think most people
Mind
will
Jack
have seen
means
that.
existence. There you go, back of the box.
Oh, nice. There you are.
It's nothing like those things.
It's a nice little bit of trivia there. Thank you. We're learning all sorts from the back of the boxes, even if Dave may have.
See, I quite like the look of the opening.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a bit like Manhunt, or it looked like it felt like Manhunt meets Saw.
Yeah. That first chapter. That's
The first chapter, and maybe and I didn't see any of the other stuff after that.
I wonder if that kind of idea does come back later on, but that first chapter feels very separate to the rest of the game that I saw.
Right? Oh, really? I kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, after that, it became a game of trying to conserve all the ammo and kind of resources that you had. And
That's fine, though. That's fine.
yeah, no, it's good. And like to be honest, like it can sometimes be an annoying feature, but I think in games like that, the scarcity of your weapons and the way that you can fight back is really important to make you feel like you're surviving in a horror game.
Do any of you lot like Resident Evil 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You barely played it,
For the bit I played,
You stopped playing. You told me it was boring.
No, I didn't. That's true. That's not true at all. I
people-
found the controls weird, but I think everyone.
So you hate it, Jim?
That's not what I said.
You what, sorry?
Resident Evil 4.
I've only played the
Oh my goodness
Wii version.
I knew this was going to happen.
I loved it, but I hated the Wii version.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
the
you
Wii
go.
version. I know
Really? What was the difference?
People bang on about the Wii
because the
version.
Wii remote was meant to be amazing. I couldn't get on with it at all.
I hated it.
You
Like to shake it to run away from the boulder and all that. Was that right?
mm.
I was like, why? Like people are like, oh, it's amazing how they've done this.
Future of gaming.
No, it's rubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what you need to know now is me and Dave are the only people that you can listen to from now on.
I can't believe neither of you played Resi 4. Unbelievable.
Pricks.
Sorry.
I
That
can't
is
deal with that.
unbelievable.
I can't deal with that sort of.
I don't think
Actually,
it's
to be fair-
quite as good as people make it out to
No, it
be.
is, Dave.
But it is brilliant.
It is, and you can keep playing it. I've played it about 5 times.
I feel like it has slight lulls every now and then. The bit where, is it the knights, where they do their swords and they go boom,
Yeah.
where you Ashley and all. The Ashley bit's rubbish.
That's not a huge portion of the game.
No,
is
it's
it?
not. But it's moments like that where I'm like, it did have its problems.
So I've only played the kind of village opening section
That's
of
bad. That's
Resident
so,
Evil.
such a small
Of
bit.
course
of
it is,
Bratters.
but that village opening feels very, very similar to this kind of second opening in the Evil
Yeah,
Within.
yeah.
That kind of you're in a small village area, and the game does so. In that village, actually, there's the agony crossbow, which is like by the looks of
Agony
it,
crossbow.
yeah, one of the main weapons that you'll be using. You can create different bolts for it. And
Why? What's agonising about it?
you can.
Than beyond a normal crossbow.
It just looks a little bit more impressive. It's got a
Does
bit
he
of flair
really, every
about
time
it.
he uses it, does he really think
No.
about it hard?
No, there's none of that.
Right, it.
And there's also
Should I pull the trigger?
there's also a shotgun in that village, and both of those things, as you'd imagine, are quite important to your
Yeah,
survival.
yeah.
Neither of them are signposted at all, and we found both of them whilst we were playing,
Mm-hmm.
whilst running away from stuff or desperately trying to
Was that a
find
brag?
something else.
Are you bragging?
No, not at all. I'm just. It's just interesting that most games would make sure that you walked. You got the agony crossbow at this point in the game because that's the part where you need to shoot things, and we kind of stumbled into it, which is kind of what I
You keep
saw with
saying
Resident
we
Evil
as if you had something to do with all this.
well, it was kind of we were both,
You were sitting on your ass while Steve played a game.
but we were talking it
be
through
honest.
at the same time. Okay, I didn't do the shooting, but I was kind of like the co-pilot.
One of the biggest differences from this that I can tell between this and Resi 4 is
Right.
that this has a lot more stealth in it.
Okay, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, you.
The stealth looks a bit like The Last of Us.
Yeah, I think that's probably not a bad example. And you're encouraged to run away from fights a lot. At least I'm basing all this on that early section, just because let's say you do have some ammo on you with the revolver or whatever. I think it like the first zombie that you encounter, and we showed this in the video. Like it takes 3 headshots to kill it, and you find the gun with 6 bullets. I don't think we ever had 6 bullets again for the rest.
That's
of
like
that
The Last
chapter.
of Us, though, isn't it? That's similar to that.
Yeah, if you can avoid a fight, generally that's a much better idea because you don't get
Does anything
anything.
explode out of their heads like a creature?
Didn't see that, but I'm going to say probably at some point something will explode out of someone's head.
Right.
It's just a general. It's a good thing to expect from horror games. Jim, you were freaking out whilst we were playing that. You were
Yeah.
stood in like the back of the room,
Yeah, I couldn't deal with it.
and you just whimpered every so often. It was it freaked
E-
me out. more than the game.
Even just watching it passively, it freaked me out too much.
Can we do a 2 cowards?
Yeah, right.
Is that a thing we can do?
Yeah, sure. I think.
but you'd make me drive it, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Drive it. What are you becoming, Jim?
Yeah, I think that game's got the kind of the weird horror elements in it, which I think you two will suit a 2 cowards play. You know when we did Alien Isolation, the
I
moment
think
you
we
start
picked the
playing
wrong
that,
bit.
and you immediately know what you're up against there. We knew that we had that one section. You know there's going to be an alien because it's kind of a big part of the game's name. It's half of the game's name, and
the
I think
main
most
part.
people knew that you had to escape from the alien. Whereas in The Evil Within, it just does such random, horrible shit. Like the scary bits in that game come completely left field. Like when so that guy that you encounter, I avoided saying we then at the beginning of the game, that's chopping up meat, right?
Yep.
No hint that he exists up until you see him and have to run away from him. I didn't see any hint that he existed after that, but you kind of
It's kind of like the chainsaw guy in Resi 4, though, isn't it?
yeah. I think that is exactly what it's inspired by. But I like that. I like that. It's just
Are there any like big
completely
boss fights?
freaking weird.
Because boss fights were a big part of Resi 4.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a chainsaw that killed Steve. That I think
But are you supposed to run away from him or kill him?
you're supposed to kill him and get the chainsaw.
Right.
And at the end of that video, by the way, we actually had some stuff with us by that stage. Pause the game to bring up the menu and have a look at what exactly we've got. Turns out it's not actually a pause menu. The game still keeps playing.
Oh,
Saw a
no.
chainsaw just come in slow motion and chop him in half.
It
It was kind of glorious.
is pretty grim, though, yeah.
Yeah, the deaths are super gory.
Even the ones that I saw early on, it's like his head hacked off and things like that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that's tame, man. Head hacking is nothing.
really?
You wait, yeah.
Seeing as it's a week of performance issues and things like that and news, how does this game run? Has it got good
Oh,
frame rate?
right, I'm with you now.
It
I thought you were talking about my performance.
did stagger a few times.
Because this
What? Why
this is using the id engine, isn't it? What's it called?
id Tech.
It's the id Tech 5, and as far as I know, this is games so far have all run 60 frames a second on everything, pretty much, haven't they?
It definitely-
even
I think
even
so,
like
yeah.
Rage on 360, and that
Yeah.
ran at 60, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it looks okay, but doesn't look incredible. Does
The
it?
lighting's really nice.
Looks decent, but it's got massive, deliberately done borders. So
Yeah.
presumably that releases some processing power, like it's not rendering the same size image,
Yeah.
and it doesn't run that smoothly.
No,
does it?
and like there were a few moments. I think I remember one point where there was a kind of a lightning strike, and like you said, the lighting in that game is probably one of its best features. when that lightning strike hit and everything was illuminated, the game just went, oh god, I'm struggling a little bit. Only for that, lightning
Why
strike's
is
not
that?
brilliant,
Because
but-
the engine is built for bigger
I
open
don't know,
areas.
because Wolfenstein, that was 60, very smooth, 60. I can't compare how they look. I haven't seen enough of either one, but it's just odd. I thought this engine that's the big thing about it. Like they were designed to run at 60, but
That seems to be Bethesda's like Frostbite, doesn't it? Essentially, it's their go-to engine. now.
it definitely doesn't run quite as well, but I don't think Steve found it to be much of an issue. It wasn't something he really talked about.
It's just I think it's
a
just
great deal.
disappointing. It's not smooth, but maybe they'll patch it. Who knows?
I haven't seen enough of it. Talking of patches, though, isn't there like a massive Xbox One patch?
Apparently, I don't know enough.
7.5 gigabytes, apparently.
Crikey. Where
There
are
you
you
go.
going to put all of this stuff?
That big patch, eh?
What are
Big
they all about?
patch.
Yeah. It has been a week of stories like that, hasn't it, really?
Well, yeah, let's not. Yeah. Yes, it
I
has
feel like
been.
it's brought you down, Dave. You're right.
Many phone calls have been had.
Yeah.
with
I
people.
wonder if they're going to move Elder Scrolls over to id Tech 5. People keep expecting them to do that, but they haven't.
Why wouldn't they? Is there a reason for that? Does that engine that they use?
I think the only reason that they haven't, or the only reason why they didn't with Skyrim, is just because they're so familiar with
Yeah.
the sort of adapted Gamebryo that they're
I mean,
using.
it's not as if their engine they use at the moment was that great. Like, it had massive performance issues, obviously, particularly on the PlayStation 3.
It's always been terrible. But I guess like a game like Elder Scrolls is all about scripting, and it's all about having people who know it inside out to get things done on it. But yeah, I mean, it just strikes me as weird that they have id under their wing as a sub studio, and they have all of id's sort of technical expertise. I wonder why they're not using it.
It's
for their-
slightly worrying that Carmack's now gone.
Yeah.
Like, if that is their big engine, which I don't know the ins and outs of how they develop things, but I always get the impression that he is the driving force behind development of engines and things. So how that's going to affect that, like, we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah.
Get Fallout on your calculator next.
Yeah.
Be it.
Sure. Sure you will. I've been playing a little bit of a survival-based game. It's
Oh,
not
here
out
we
yet
go
until
again.
towards the end of the year. It's called This War of Mine.
Oh yeah.
And this again.
He gets so upset.
I know.
And it's a game set in, it's not a kind of named city, but it's a city besieged, set in a war zone. And instead of playing as a soldier, you play as a group of civilians trying to survive within that, which is an interesting concept in its own. And it's not, when I say that, I don't mean it's going to be like Homefront and the civilians are actually super soldiers that can take down an entire
Press X
army
to jump in mass
for the
grave.
glory of America.
I played a civilian in Turning Point Fall of Man, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
What's it called? Not Fall of Man.
Fall of Liberty.
Fall of Liberty. Fall of Man's like Resistance, isn't it, or something?
Yeah.
What's different? I've played it already, Brad.
I actually don't know much
Weren't you
about
not a window cleaner in that?
Yeah,
I
you
remember
just suddenly, I'm fighting a war now.
Wait, what kind of game is it?
FPS.
Well, it's not an
shoot
FPS.
dudes.
It's a...
Yeah, no, but how's this? Surely is better. Turning Point sounds like a better game.
What, why?
It's about 3 out of 10 rated, but you got guns, shoot people.
It's
Turning
definitely
Point was
definitely
bad
not
game.
it's
Codemaster
definitely not that type of
Code
game. I think it's a big part of the reason this game exists is because they wanted to move away from war zones being represented in games by first person shooters.
Is it the video game version of Arnie's film where he doesn't fire a gun?
No, not really.
Is it called Collateral Damage, maybe?
From my experience, I played about an hour of it. There wasn't much gunplay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But it was
You don't need guns to have a good game, Tom.
the game was all about trying to collect enough stuff to survive. So things like water, food, like medicine is all very, very limited. You start off with like in a shelter that you found, and there's some stuff in there which is kind of like your freebies. You spend time collecting that, seeing what you can use from like the rubble and whatever's been left in the shelter, and then from that point onwards, everything you get is during the night time, because that's the easiest time for people to get around and avoid the military. You search other houses and you encounter other survivors which you can trade with. And so I started off the game, I played about 3 nights, and I had a pretty decent start to it, I think. Didn't use too many resources. One of my people got sick, but I found the right medicine to kind of get them through that. Everything was fine. And it meant I could kind of play the kind of morally safe ground. So I only took items from abandoned houses and things like that. And when I encountered like an elderly couple living in a building, and I tried to trade with them, they pretty much said, "No, we don't want to do anything. Please leave." And I left. Whereas I get the impression that later on, as the game goes on and resources become more and more scarce, those decisions are a little bit more tricky. And so, deciding not to steal from quite a vulnerable couple of people isn't quite as.
Did you
easy.
ever think, but they're just video game characters?
Yeah, of course, yeah, and you do treat it as a game, and
Is it like an offline DayZ?
a little bit, yeah. It's got some of the same kind of ideas. Obviously, these people are computer controlled characters. They're all scripted. Everything's scripted. The kind of stuff you're going to find is a set amount every time. But it's definitely a similar kind of feeling, because DayZ is
I've
all
got
about.
a question for you.
Sure.
You're not happy to steal from virtual characters, but
Right.
why is it that you often eat some of Dave's?
Yeah, you eat all my Twixes and my crisps.
How do you, in your head, how
Well, the
do you
thing
balance
is,
this?
my
Something
resources-
that's right.
So I met this elderly couple, and I knew nothing about them. Right. First impressions, they were sitting
Know
by a
nothing
fire.
about me.
They were just trying to survive. They were just trying to get on with their lives. I didn't have any kind of prior knowledge to work with. With David Scammell, I know I don't really like him already. So taking what's his.
So it's not about morals with you. It's about whether or not you like someone.
Yeah.
So you like these old?
No, I
people?
don't know whether or not I like them. Whereas with you, it's
I mean,
already.
so you're quite happy to justify theft.
Yeah, I think you know what? I think this
on,
War of Mine is a game
on the
about-
basis that it's all right to commit a crime against somebody if you don't like them.
Yeah, I think that's probably how I justify it. If I was in desperate need
Blimey.
and I didn't like someone,
I don't think
Were
that's
you desperately in need of a biscuit
well,
the other day?
when I
because in the Dave situation, you're not living in a post-apocalyptic landscape
but
struggling to survive.
Whenever I've nicked
then
a
you
Twix,
could justify stealing Dave's
You'd probably already
Twixes.
eaten a bag of hobnobs.
whenever
that day.
you nicked a
But-
Twix off Dave, it's been very. I've been working late in the office.
You
And I'm
have
just,
you
like,
have the diet of
Sainsbury's
the
is
man.
closed.
You have the diet of a man.
Sainsbury's
who
is
should be
never
about
closed.
4 times the size for a start. I mean, you eat plenty, and
You
are
know me.
You are a skinny bastard. I don't know how you manage it.
I mean, sitting next to you for like 8 months, I know exactly what you eat.
That's unbelievable.
Crap. I mean, I do as well. That's not the point. But
He's got a point. It's true.
Okay, just to justify this, I have.
Why don't you like
I have,
me? I'm upset now.
I have replenished whatever I've taken from you. It's usually something from Poundland. I've gone the next day and I've gone, Dave, I've nicked your Twixes, but here I bought some more for you.
This happens on occasion. It is infrequent, but it does occur.
Yeah.
that wouldn't stand up in court. I replaced the biscuits.
I want to get to the bottom of this. What have I ever done to upset you?
So we sit opposite each other in the office.
You're the
and-
one that antagonises me.
That's not true.
You say, Dave, I've got a message for you, or I've just had an email come in,
Yeah.
and then over your monitor, I'll just see this middle finger rising, and I'll be sitting there like, well, fuck you too.
He shouts at me about that.
But you're saying that's what started the whole thing. Like that's still once again a reaction to stuff that you've done to upset me. For example, the other day you went through my Facebook pictures, found one where I was pulling a bit of a weird face, and just posted it on the VideoGamer Twitter. All right,
That's just bants, though, isn't it?
that's
That's VideoGamer bants.
yeah. So is that. You know.
See, Bryce, you should be learning a lesson here that your actions in the real world affect
consequences.
how you're able to discuss games on a podcast.
I know, right? I
Can
was
we
not
just point
expecting
out-
that.
Your actions in the real world are less morally sound than your actions in games.
You did also give me approval to post that picture on the Twitter.
No, I
Let's not
didn't.
forget
No, I
that.
didn't. I vetoed one.
Yes,
and
and the other one you said,
other one
all right.
No, I just didn't say no. It's just that I think that I pretty much you went. Do you mind if I put that one up? And I just didn't really say anything. I think that's why it ended up on the.
Right.
She's outrageous.
Anyway,
Yeah. So this was mine. From what I've seen, and I think I got kind of a taste at like just at the end of my time with this game that you start to some difficult decisions start to happen. So people will come and request your help and ask for certain things that you. That you need yourself, and I think that whole thing is going to be based around the fact that the longer you go on in this game, the harder it is and the more difficult it is to obtain the resources to survive.
but what do you need out of life? Is it just
You really don't want me to
biscuits?
talk about this War of Mine,
No.
Yeah,
No.
do I want
In the
biscuits?
game,
right?
what do you want? Do you want biscuits? Do you want love? How far do you go to get these things? Is there an option to kiss the old lady?
Biscuits or
No,
love?
No, in fact, the elderly man comes to the door and tells you to back off. I think
So he already knows what you're up to.
No.
He knows why you're there.
no, he doesn't. That's why he's cautious of you.
He's protecting his biscuits and his woman
Yeah.
from Christopher
Hey,
Brad.
you
Yeah.
stop sniffing around my wife. And fuck off out of them biscuits and all. Go on, sling your hook.
It's not what happened. Yeah. So as you make these decisions, your characters kind of react to that as well, because you're not really controlling a single character. You have a group, and
Right.
there's this, the dev that was
Is it basically just worms?
not at all. No.
I can see your point there, Dave, but I don't
How?
think it is.
Do you remember in one edition of Worms, I'm sure you used to get like giant Kit Kats on the map and stuff. So there is a link.
No, there isn't. There isn't. This is a game that's talking about
What I
people
don't,
living through.
what I find
war
an
zones.
interesting design choice though is that in this world where resources are scarce and stuff, there seems to be a big emphasis on biscuits.
Nope, that's once you've both said that. At no point do you find biscuits in this game.
There's no biscuits in it.
The biscuits are gone.
Where's all
What are
the
you
biscuit
doing there
chat
then,
coming?
Bratters? Why are you even there?
You're trying to survive through, and you guys have been so disrespectful. This is a
there-
game
is there
that's
a
had a
way
lot
that
of.
people can see what you think about this game without us derailing it?
Yeah, there's I did a 45-minute video with the dev
45 minutes.
where we played through it and just
Right.
what?
Can you die?
Yes, of course you can die. It's a war zone. It'd be pretty ridiculous if you couldn't. And okay, one final
It
thing.
does sound like an
I'll move on.
interesting game.
So I've only the gameplay seems a little bit basic at the moment, and I only got a hint towards how difficult the choices could be. That could potentially be something really cool. I don't know how far they'll take that, but I do like that pretty much every and this was his job. Every like 5 minutes during that video, Pavel, who I was talking to, would like point out something in the game that they'd taken from a real war zone, an active war zone right now, and where the inspiration had come from. How, like even the small things like the fact that alcohol is quite an important resource because you use it to disinfect your wounds, but it's also one of the most sought after items in terms of trade. That all comes from stuff they've looked into, and they're working with a charity that focuses on like children surviving in war zones. It sounds like this isn't just a cop-out. They are trying to do the topic justice. I think that's pretty freaking important. And that's all I want to say about this War of Mine. I'm sorry for bringing it up. It's not like Worms, and there aren't any biscuits.
Whoa.
All right. Good.
Whoa. It sounds like a good game.
I don't know if it's a good game. I think it's a very, very cool idea. I don't know.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a
it
relevant
certainly
and
sounds like
important game.
certainly sounds like a project worth having a look at. Anyway,
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. Cool. There you are. Thanks very much, guys.
no,
You're the best.
we can't make jokes about children in war zones.
I know.
Basically.
The moment I said that, I was like,
you
I've
should have
won
led
this.
with that, really. If you'd led with that, we'd been like, all right,
Yeah,
you can talk about that.
I mean, I think,
listen.
frankly, I think the way you've handled the topic
Oh,
has
you're
been
going to put this on
disgraceful.
me, right? Oh,
Yeah.
is that how we're going to do it? Okay, Dave, I'm going to cut that out, but I
Yeah.
need you to explain right now that you've asked me to cut something out there. It's not me trying to censor David Scammell, which is the popular theory on the internet right now.
I mean, that theory does prove to be correct sometimes, but in this instance, yes.
In Brat's defense, he usually does censor you when you're being libelous about somebody or when you're being libelous about Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
He does steal my biscuits.
or being perfectly truthful about Chris, but you know.
You think
But he
you
decides
think
that shouldn't be out on the internet.
You think that biscuits conversation is going to end in the podcast?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good luck with that. All right. Cool.
This is terrible.
What else have people been playing that we want to talk about?
I don't know, what do we want to talk about?
I played loads of games, Bratters.
Yep. Cool.
Do you want to run down
pick,
of all
pick
of them?
one of them. Yeah. Sure.
No,
go for
not
it.
one. I'm going to talk about all of them.
Okay. At the same time.
Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition.
Oh, yeah, I've played a bit of that, oh, yeah.
Does it look good?
No.
Then that's all we need to know. Good.
It looks like, if you imagine, I really hope this is going to be the best version yet. It's going to look really sharp and run smoothly.
Yep.
And then imagine that not happening.
That's the Sleeping Dogs
Yeah.
Definitive Edition.
It's like, because Sleeping Dogs is a good game. I like Sleeping Dogs, and it's still a decent game, but
It's all right.
they've done a bad job.
Surely you aim for locking your performance down first and then add the extra bits on top.
It's the word definitive as well. That just
It
shoots
has,
them in the
it has
foot.
a lot of content in it, so in that sense, it is definitive because it's got everything that's come before in DLC. But
It's not as big as other open world games, though.
no, but it has like all the standalone story-based stuff, or everything's
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But then it just runs poorly. Like, it never really maintains 30.
It feels like such a cheap port.
Really?
It just feels like we've gone, here's the PC game. Add a
Shit, right, we could do this, or we could try and get it out before GTA 5 comes
add
out.
some smoke effects, fog effects, whatever,
Yeah.
and there you go.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
Release some
I don't know why they got UFG to do it. I mean, obviously they made the original game, but they also made the relatively poor port of Tomb Raider on Xbox One. Whereas Nix's, who are Square's go-to studio for their PC ports normally, and who also did the PS4 port of Tomb Raider,
Right.
like, why didn't they port this?
I mean, we don't know the deal. Like, perhaps they were told they had a certain time frame. We don't know how long they've been working on it, what their restrictions were, but it's just not. It's
Not
as
very
good
long,
as
I don't
It's not
think.
as good as what it should have been.
Such a pity.
And also,
And it's
like,
weird because when I saw it at a preview, it looked all right, but maybe they just showed the best bits. And
it sounds like the kind of next gen or new gen versions of the game aren't even better than the old PC version.
The PC version's clearly, if you've got a PC that runs.
But I'm not even talking about definitive. I'm talking about the
probably
original game.
the original version on a good PC is still better, I imagine. Just because.
That's why I find the word definitive so
performance.
weird.
Yeah.
'Cause-
well, that's just their way of saying remastered,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
But compared to like Tomb Raider, like particularly the PS4 version of Tomb Raider,
Mm.
this is nothing like the level they put into that in terms of the upgrades and things.
Oh, I'm worried that we're going to see more of that as well because
I quite like the idea of bringing the old games out because there's quite a few
And I
games
think
I miss.
They did a good,
Publishers
they did
do
a
as well,
good job
don't
of
they?
Hitman Absolution. I'd probably go back and replay
Yeah,
that.
that's another game that
That
would
looked good on
much,
PC.
Look really nice if that was ported over well, but whether or not they do it,
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Bayonetta 2,
Oh, right. Okay,
that's
cool.
really good, really good. I don't know if
You
anyone
played the first Bayonetta
yeah,
as well, right?
yeah. I don't know if anyone ever thought this wasn't going to be good. I
Yeah.
think, well, like some people clearly did because on our forum there's a few people surprised that this is actually a really good game, possibly because it's on the Wii U, I imagine. But
I think there was because Kamiya's not involved with Bayonetta
He's-
2, really, is he?
he's
Isn't he?
like he's not like the main guy.
I didn't know
I don't
that.
think so. I mean,
He's not like leading it.
he's like he's involved, but he's not. it's
like
not-
a producer type
yeah,
thing.
I think. Someone might say we're completely wrong, but I think he is like he's not the main dude anymore.
Didn't know that.
But it does feel a lot like the first one, which I imagine is a good thing because the first one was good. But it's just a very, very slick action game. Like it's, I think a lot of people, if you don't like its tone and the way it's it's quite silly in like
Quite sexualized, isn't it?
yeah, but I don't think it's as bad as there's certain games that do it and you think, this is a bit off. Never feels like that to me because it's so over the top and the way she does it is not in a kind of, you're not like objectifying her.
Yeah.
She's doing it in a way that is for her.
Yeah,
if that kind of
it's
makes
a strange
sense.
thing to talk about as a bunch of guys sitting in a room together, but like from what I've seen, I get the impression that
It's not
the character's
exploitative
meant.
then.
I don't think so.
She's supposed to be in
It's-
control of that
Yeah.
aspect of her.
Is
And
it?
it's-
It's
and
not
it's-
to you because you'll see it that way. But if you, and I know the game isn't directed at those people, but if you're a younger teenager,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily going to see it that way. You may see it as all
Yeah,
pretty
but
girl. Do you know what I mean?
It's not. I don't think it. I mean, it doesn't really do enough. It's kind of like tantalizing, I suppose, in certain sense, but it's not like ooh look tits. Like it's not like Leisure Suit Larry or
Right, yeah.
It's not like a or even it's not even to the level of
I mean, I don't know who would play
like the
Leisure
God
Suit
of
Larry.
War mini games. You know, God of War always has that sex mini game. Like
Yeah.
that is on a completely different level of like crudeness and like so obviously done for the sex angle. This
Yeah.
isn't like
has
that.
a different feeling to it.
And it's a very fun game, and on top of that, the combat is very good. Like I play a lot of these games, but I'm nowhere near good enough to get the most out of it. But I've seen videos on YouTube, and people do things that I'm not able to do. But there's so much depth to it that, like, I played on normal, I think, and then after each stage, like each level or chapter is split into numerous stages, and they rank your performance. You get trophies and stuff, and I pretty much average like silvers and stuff on normal. But I imagine if you play it on like the hard level and trying to get like the platinum, there might be a platinum plus another level above that. Like you've got to do with the whole thing without getting hit and all this
Sure.
kind of stuff. It's probably going to be incredibly hard.
Aren't you fighting on top of like a fighter jet within the first hour or something?
Yeah, there's a lot of it's a very crazy
I
game.
love that kind of stuff.
Like the opening sequence is just completely bizarre but it sets up the tone of the game. Like it's all about ridiculous things that obviously would never ever happen, but she's a witch who has hair that is her clothes and also can turn into demons, which then fight other demons.
That just sounds, what a wonderful sentence.
Why not?
Yeah.
So what you like? How did you find playing it on the Wii U? Did you play it with the gamepad itself?
I tried it with the gamepad and the Pro Controller.
Okay.
Pro Controller is definitely the way to do it. It doesn't, I mean, in terms of the button layout, it's not that different on the gamepad. It's just the holding it for a considerable amount of time, and you're playing it in it's quite a stressful game because it's so intense.
Definitely.
It doesn't feel right. Like I'd rather have the more comfortable Pro Controller.
Is the gamepad doing anything that would warrant using it?
It's
instead?
basically like easy mode. Like you can do some very basic stuff. It doesn't
Is
really.
there buttons you can tap to do combos?
Yeah, it's like slashes and pushes and stuff on the screen, but it's not.
Ridiculous.
It doesn't feel like you're playing the same game anymore. If you want to play it like that, fine, but I don't think you're going to get the same out of it as you would with a gamepad, with a controller. The only issue is that the Pro Controller, it doesn't feel quite the same as when you're holding. Say this might be your first Wii U game. Like it was. I've played some Wii games. This is the first one I've ever played really for a long time. The button positioning and everything, and even the naming of the buttons isn't what I'm used to. So there's a lot of times where even things like there's a button prompt pops up and you bash it to perform a certain move, and I missed it quite often because it said press X, and X is not where I associate X to be.
Yeah.
And it's just, you get used to it, but initially there is a learning curve, I think, and it's slightly awkward. But then you haven't got any option. Like this is the only way you're going to play this game is on the Wii U. Buy a Pro Controller, and you get used to it, and it is then very good. There's lots of people say, "Oh, why didn't they make it for like next gen?" It sounds like they had no option. Like Nintendo appears to be the people that saved it from completely dying. So it's a good job they did, because it's a very good game, and it is a game that if you have a Wii U, you should definitely get it. If you don't, possibly get a Wii U for.
I wonder. I do get the impression that Bayonetta fans would get a Wii U specifically.
I think, but how many of them are there? Like, Bayonetta is quite niche.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is not the Halo of the Wii U. It's not going to save it from its sales.
And there aren't many games on the Wii U like that.
No.
Like it's just in terms of tone and the kind of age that it's going after.
No, they do a lot with it, like extra-wise, to push it towards the Nintendo audience.
Yeah, I
was going to say, are there
cosplayers like characters from the?
Yeah.
Is there many Nintendo references beyond the costumes though? Because the original had quite a few Sega references.
Is
there like a Star Fox level or something?
There are bits. Well, there are nods and stuff like they did with the first game, but the main stuff is all in like the unlockable bits,
right?
And there are bits that I probably didn't see because I did not see the entire game. The way it works, you can definitely miss out on certain parts because of there might be a small mini stage off a path that you didn't go down and that kind of thing. But yeah, if you like ridiculously over the top action games like this is,
then you've probably already played Bayonetta, and then you'll probably already know.
And it's like the amount of stuff that goes on is just insane. There's a bit when you're having a fight as Bayonetta against, I can't remember who it is, one of the main bad dudes in the game, and in the background are your demon and his demon summoned into the background having their own little fight.
Nice.
And it's just, and then you switch to them, and then you start punching as the demons and stuff, and then it's just on the scale of it is very impressive, and it goes all over. There's like underwater fighting, sky fighting. You're in a jet plane.
I think I'd like it for the same reasons that I like some of the kind of anime shows that I watch. I love that ludicrously over the top stuff, and Bayonetta sounds like a really cool
lots
character.
of people that really love it will say it's all about the depth of the combat.
Yeah, sure.
Which
but
is fine.
It sounds like you played it for a different reason.
I played it because it is just lots of fun.
Yeah,
and that's why I like it.
Pretty good reason to play it. Man.
It's just the amount, and it never really drags. There's one point where I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to backtrack through a load of this now. And it happens for about 15 minutes, and then it's back to new stuff.
Yeah.
There is one character in it that's bloody annoying. He's like a small child.
Yeah, I was going to say a little boy,
and he's got the worst voice ever.
This sounds like an anime.
But
that's exactly what
happened in the original, didn't the kids?
Sounds like Chris
in the
Pratt.
original.
Right. It's like, and he's got like,
sorry, carry on. Tom.
He's got
Very
a British
rude.
accent, I think. I'm not 100% sure because it's so bad, but you kind of get used to him being there. and he is annoying, but it kind of grows on you a bit. Bratters is now writing a message.
What are you doing,
What?
Bratters?
This is what he does in the office.
What?
It's going to say like piss off or something.
There are some like horrible child characters in a few Japanese games. There's was it Star Ocean
There you
4?
go. I don't know. I didn't
Dunno.
play Star Ocean.
Whichever Star Ocean that was on the 360.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Is that the one with
yeah.
Edge Maverick?
Yeah, yeah. It has one of the
What very
characters
name?
is a small child, and she has it's just the most incredibly, just frankly insulting depiction of a child, and extremely irritating. They seem to be really good at that. Although there's probably something to do with the way that those things are dubbed over, because I very much doubt that.
I don't know, man. Like
They're
at
intended.
least in if to make that link again back to anime, like they're all. It seems to be a trope. Like
Yeah.
slightly aggravating.
I get the sense
human
this is
child.
entirely deliberate in this game.
Yeah.
That they chose this to be exactly like this for a reason, but it works somehow. It does work, but I think most people get something out of it, even if you're not into it for the super in-depth
Yeah.
combat.
Yeah, it's like there are a bunch of games like that. Like recently, I think you played Velocity 2X, and like you enjoyed that game for what it was on like a kind of surface level. I watched some people at EGX actually playing that game just to show off, pretty much, and it's something else. Like
Yeah.
it's completely different.
Yeah,
It's cool that games can manage that.
yeah,
Tell you another game where you can show off.
yeah,
Skylanders.
yeah.
You said that like you were sitting in a bar somewhere smoking a cigarette.
Goes to the conventions with his bag of toys. Gets them out.
I went to a pub the other night with Dave, and he had to bring his bag of Skylanders across.
Actual
It's
true
the most
story.
shameful thing.
True fact. I was sitting in a pub.
How many Skylanders would you say were in that bag?
In that bag?
I'm going to say 40.
Around that, I'd have said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
30, 40,
Skylanders.
something like that. Yeah. But yeah, game for pricks. No, I'm joking. It's good though, isn't it? Me and Tom played the opening moments of the new one.
Dave's been playing it on next gen. I've been playing it on
Tablet.
iOS, iPad.
And you know what? It's not that far removed.
It's
it does
very
look really
similar.
nice on next gen.
'Cause
Don't get me wrong.
On
but-
iPad, the version comes with a mini controller inside the portal.
Oh, really?
So you get the whole package feels slightly cheaper than the
It
next gen
feels a
version.
lot cheaper than
Like
the
the
next gen
portal
version.
itself doesn't look as nice. It's
It's a totally different portal. It feels really plasticky.
It doesn't have.
Oh,
this-
dude, come on. I felt your portal, mate. It's not particularly...
Well, mate, let me
it's got
tell
no
you
heft
this.
to it, I'll tell you that. It feels like it's made out of plastic. And
This feels like it's, I don't know, it's got this little light on it. This
It
like a little
doesn't-
round.
yeah.
It's
doesn't
rubbish.
have the speaker on it, which is a bit disappointing.
Well, that was the biggest thing. Let me tell you, the
Could
main
that possibly be the biggest
the
thing?
main innovation behind Skylanders Trap Team is the ability to trap your enemies and for them to come through into the little portal speaker and be like, "Ah,
It is
I'm
amusing.
fucked in here. What are you doing?"
What are you doing on?
And when you haven't got that, it's a bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so they're trying to. The idea is console experience on your tablet, and it is pretty well done. The problem is the controller that comes with it is garbage. Like there's so much input lag that it's better not to use
It
it.
seemed
at all.
unplayable when
Yeah.
you were doing it.
I mean, maybe some people aren't as bothered by that kind of stuff and just get on with it, but it's not.
I
if
couldn't
you're
do
going
it.
from generally playing games on the
Like
console
definitely
to
for
that,
us, it's not. Like if you play games a lot, it's not.
No.
You'll notice it straight away, and it's like, is this broken?
I don't know if there are. I haven't really messed around with many of them, but I don't know how many controllers for iOS devices or handheld devices like that manage to get around that problem. They all seem to have.
Are they all laggy? Because I've never used one
There
before.
seems to be some kind. In my experience when I've tried them before, there seems to be a noticeable lag coming from
Really,
playing games on.
but it just
a
makes
console all
it
the time.
like.
The other thing with the tablet version seemed to be that when you put a new Skylander onto the portal in the console game, it's instant. The character will come
Is
up.
it?
Yeah.
Good.
Has this little sequence. He's like, "Here I am, standing on your portal. Now you can play as me." Whereas in the tablet one, it has to download data.
Yeah. I think
to-
once I've got a feeling that from then on he doesn't do it again.
No, I know, but
But it
if
is
I've got
is a
like
bit
40
jarring.
Skylanders,
It's a bit
which I
jarring.
may or may not have.
No, I mean because the download size I don't think goes beyond the initial because the initial download is quite large and then it goes up to like 6 gig, which is quite a lot for a tablet in the first place. But I think after that might be it.
What? So once you've put one character on, it's
Possibly,
downloaded
it just
all of the
downloads-
character data?
I think it downloads like, because I think the iOS version comes with like a free demo. I
Right.
think then it upgrades it to the main game, possibly, which is the extra download. I'm not 100% sure, but
I do see what you mean, though. I mean, I'd hate to have my immersion broken like that. I'm summoning my mystical creature on my plastic portal, and I want to feel like it's alive.
This is
there.
See, this is the thing. Like,
But
this
it's-
is no,
obviously it's-
this is
it's a
something that needs
plastic toy
discussing.
that you can't move the arms on.
So it needs discussing. It's actually something that I will put in my review.
Okay.
It's impossible for a man of my age to enjoy a game like this without having the piss taken out of me
Right.
by people like you
I
who
wasn't
refuse to believe this is a good game.
It just feels like a money grabbing thing.
If I can just come out and
Actually, no, go on,
Sorry,
Jim. Then we'll
if
go
I
back
can
to
just
what you
come out
said.
and support a Dave here. There is a sign there on the table that says "Fuck off, Jimbo."
I'm going to make Jimbo
written
stick,
by
man.
you, demonstrating your level of maturity, Brad. Carry on, Dave.
When you say it feels
Back
a
to
bit,
maturity.
it feels a bit money grabbing.
Yeah.
it does.
This one this year, and again, I've only played it briefly. We've only done the first level.
Okay.
And I don't know whether it changes for the rest of it, but it does feel more so this year than previous
How
years.
so?
So, you sound interested, Christopher
Well,
Pratt.
no,
Let me
it's
explain.
I felt bad then because I was like, you know what? Let him have his toys. Let's just go.
So the previous games, they've all had a theme. The first one, it was the initial characters. Second one was Giants, obviously had the bigger characters.
Yeah.
Third one was Swap Force, which had the swappable characters. And each of those different types of characters could do different things within the game. The Swap Force characters could get into new areas that the other characters couldn't,
Of course,
etc.,
yeah,
etc.
Yep. And this year with Trap Team, I guess that's the trapping of the enemies, right? Is
I'm
that
refusing
thing
to
you think?
talk to you anymore because of your tone with me.
What are you possibly talking about?
No, this year. So it's the way that they've done it. So in earlier games, basically each character is an elemental type. Think of Pokemon. It's like that. So there'll be fire, Skylanders, water Skylanders,
Mm-hmm.
and all. And they've got these doors in each world where fuck you.
No, stop being so defensive. Just
If it's a fire
own it.
door, you can go through it with a fire character.
yeah.
And they're only like bonus areas. It's not like Disney Infinity where complete massive locations are locked off unless you buy those characters. It's like a bonus dungeon essentially that has a little hat in it that you can wear. It's just little tiny things. And you're laughing again.
I'm not sorry. You go through the fire door to get the bonus hats.
In this one, they've got the same thing. They've got the elemental doors, but you have to be using one of the new Trackmaster toys to get through it.
Oh, right.
So it feels a bit like I have got that type, but
Right.
you're artificially making
Shit.
me
So
buy it.
okay. So up until this point, like those 40 Skylanders that you've got
It
are from the
basically-
whole
it feels
collection, right?
Yeah, it feels like the investment that you've already made over the years is now a little bit worthless because
Yeah,
you
sure.
need the new stuff to get to those areas. And the other thing is they've got the little traps now to trap the things in.
Right.
And again, that's another form of monetizing because you can only trap
There's
certain
loads of
enemies.
those.
There's loads, but I think you only need one of each type to
Mm.
trap them. I don't know how many enemies you can trap in each trap, whether you could just one at a time or what, but yeah, I mean they're slightly cheaper. I think they're about £6 each. But still, £6 for each trap is a lot of money. Like when there's I don't know how many types, maybe 6 or 7 types of them, and
I think like don't get me wrong. I know I'm being a bit of a prick about it. I think it's the whole Skylanders thing. I would be totally into. Like at a younger age, I think it's a very cool idea.
That was a dig. Did you hear that?
At a younger age.
no.
But now because I
if
can't
I was 12 years old, well, slightly younger, than that, if I was 8 years old, Skylanders would be the best thing in my life.
And it's
Yeah.
made very well for a kids game. It doesn't feel. Lots of kids games they just chuck out and it's shit and they
Yeah.
feel bad. Like this doesn't feel like that. It feels like they've actually made a good effort to
Yeah.
make it impressive.
more so than Disney Infinity by the sounds of it. as well.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Compared, and Disney. You talk of this film, it's cynical and cash grabby. Like Disney is far worse.
Really?
Like the content they give you, and even it's worse in Disney Infinity 2. At least in the original, you had 3 sort of campaigns essentially. As shit as they may have been, you had 3 of them. This one you've only got 1, unless you buy all the other stuff,
Yeah.
and it's all on disc. I've said this before. Like Activision have been mastered the ability to ship on disc DLC with very little.
Yeah.
Come back.
Backlash, sure.
And that's fine. That's the model. But yeah, I'm going to play more of it. We'll see how we go.
All right. How much would you say like on average you spend on like on one of these Skylanders kind of sets? I guess the first one was probably the most, I imagine, right? Like because like
I only bought the original on a whim. I was like, everyone's talking about Skylanders, and I felt that I should play it. And I picked it out. It was like £20. It was like 6 months after launch or something. I thought I'll give it a go, and I tried it. I was like, it's pretty basic, but it's all right. And they've progressively gotten better though. It's not like they've kind of churned sequels out and they've all been the same.
Yeah.
They've actually improved the quality of them with each one. So
I guess it depends how much you enjoy this one. We'll
and that's the
dictate
thing.
that,
Like,
obviously.
I thought 20 quid, sod it. That's cheaper than a traditional game, and I get these figures with it as well.
$4,000
Yeah.
later.
But that's the hook, isn't it? You're then like, oh yeah.
They give you your
Do you
first taste
actually
and
need 40 Skylanders to do everything in the game, or
To max everything, you need one of each type of Skylander. So you need one of each element.
yeah?
Who's your favourite? Do you have a favourite that you go back to?
I do like some of them. Thumpback's low. I've got a little pair of pants on my thumpback in the game.
Excellent.
He wear pants on his head. He does. He's good. And I can't remember his name, but he's a little spiky air
just
type.
turned into fucking Frank Spencer all of a sudden.
He tried so hard to stop this side of it coming through, and then
But that's the thing. Like the child inside. I am a big kid. I'll admit that I'm a big kid. But it's the child inside me that does come out. It's like, this is good. This is good.
Oh, go on.
And I've said this before. If it didn't have the toys, if the toys weren't associated with it, I think people will look at it as like a Crash Bandicoot or a Spyro of this generation. Essentially, it's just that because those toys are there, it's associated as being a kids' game. Essentially, so
Yeah, that's actually maybe a fair point. You know,
I've always been curious about it. I got Swap Force, the starter kit for my eldest either birthday or Christmas later.
the
I'm not
weens.
decided yet. Because Dave told me about a deal earlier in the year where it was like 20 quid and all that. So looking forward to seeing how she gets into it.
it's good. It's good.
Well, I'm not looking forward to
Is one side of you hoping that she just doesn't really like it, so you don't have to keep buying
No,
Skylanders?
not at all.
Because what if she ends up like Dave? That's a terrifying
Well, no,
concept
no,
for any father.
I want my child to experience joy, for fuck's sake.
But
What it
At
does
what
do,
cost?
which as a parent, I imagine I'll be like, oh, for God's sake,
Yeah.
is that there are collectibles and you collect them,
Yeah.
and each one is essentially a preview for a new toy. So they'll watch it and be like, oh, Daddy, that one looks really cool.
That's the side of it I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah. So I do get that. I do get those concerns,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it's always
For
it's always
20 quid.
struck me as some kind of, just like an 8-year-old's equivalent of Diablo or something.
and it is. It
Fire
kind of
away.
is.
Yeah.
But it's still enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll love it, but I'll be like, that's your lot now, right?
fair enough.
Just some of that content's gonna have to stay locked.
All right, cool. We haven't got any Diablo update this week, then, Tom.
No, I will go back to it. No,
All
I've got my
right.
TV set up.
People are
but-
demanding it.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask Tom, did James ever actually get that massive telly that
James?
Tesco sold to people by
They both
accident?
got
Yeah,
one.
that's
I
what
got
Tom
one.
was
Oh, you
saying.
both got
Yeah.
one, right?
But
That's
he-
his fifth
he-
£8 it cost him.
£9.
Oh,
though.
£9.
£9.
Sorry.
Not quite as good now, is it?
Yeah.
And that was Tesco
Really not.
Direct, wasn't it?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
a week before that happened, I bought a smaller TV
Mm.
for about £200.
Yeah.
And,
It is big. Like,
yeah.
as much as I convince myself that, don't laugh at it's big, Dave. I know
Hey!
you're as much as I convince myself that it would be all right on the wall, it still looks quite large.
It's a
There's
bit
gonna be-
overbearing.
There's going to be some adjusting, I think,
Yeah.
to that. But I still think it's worth £9.
I remember upgrading from a 32-inch to a 40, and I was like, I really shouldn't have done that. But
It was
you
too
do-
big.
It was too big
Oh, crikey.
at the time. I'm used to it now. My eyes have progressively gotten worse, though. So just accepting it.
That's mental. Like way back, like the start of the noughties, like a 28-inch TV was like that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
32 was quite good, and then the flat screen started hitting, and you had people like buying like, usually working class people buying TVs that were like 50, 60 inches. And you're like,
Oh, that LG 50-inch, 300 quid, mate. Yeah.
setting them up really badly so they look fucking
It's the
awful.
biggest piece of shit TV you've ever bought, but it's also the biggest one. so-
Watching standard def content on it that looks absolutely terrible. And people are like, "Way!" So it's just incredible. I just remember when a 28-inch TV would have been considered like, "Fuck, that's quite." Are you sure you got the room for that, mate? Nowadays, people are just like, "Oh, 60 inches, it's not enough." Dave, for fuck's sake.
You're not like this podcast hasn't helped your image of not being a child.
Shut up.
Skylanders and Penis jokes. That's the Video Game UK podcast, yes.
I'd say there are penis jokes in Skylanders.
Really?
No, there are
There are
not.
innuendos. There are.
I think you forced this on the game.
No.
Give me an example.
I can't remember them now, but there are. There definitely are.
It might just
100%.
be one character looking at something and going, "Oh, that's quite big."
And Dave's like,
And Dave's
oh,
pissing
shit.
himself like, "Oh, fuck me.
Right.
How did this get approved?"
Shall we move on to some questions? Unless there's anything else we want to talk about,
don't
Tom.
know.
I don't
I
want
don't know
to skip over you.
If Jim wanted to mention Far Cry or not, because he likes it quite a lot.
I love how you just totally. You didn't even ask.
I asked you what you've been playing.
No, you didn't. You
Yeah,
asked
I
the room.
did.
Anyway, yeah, Far Cry 4 previewed it.
Phew. What?
I'm kidding, Brad.
Jeez.
Yeah, I previewed it. I've played about 3 or 4 hours of it, split across single player and co-op, and I'm very excited about Far Cry 4 now because I was a big fan of Far Cry 3. Anyone who knows my previous work will will know that.
Scott Rail.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting sort of sequel because it's. I mean, as I say in the preview, it's got the bones of Far Cry 3. I mean, mechanically, it is just another Far Cry 3, but everything they do on top of it is very different in tonally, like the look of it. It's very much a departure from the kind of Far Cry model where nothing in the world actually gives you a reason to give a toss about it. Whereas Far Cry 4 is different. It actually does have things in there that you want to engage with, and a story that actually seems like it's worth following at this point. So it looks like they've done Far Cry 3 again, but fixed the issues with Far Cry 3 that I felt it had, where it made you you're quite happy to sort of give up on it halfway through because you'd had your fill, you know. And I know a lot of people. I know very few people who've actually completed Far Cry 3, and I think that's telling. Like I know a lot of people who are like, I loved Far Cry 3, stopped playing it about halfway through because I'd had enough, and that was fine. Wasn't really motivated to finish the story or whatever.
Yeah,
They got to see the ending. That ending.
Is it good?
You literally jizz yourself to death. that is the ending.
What?
Have you not seen this?
No. You jizz yourself to death.
Yes.
As in.
You have two options. If you haven't finished Far Cry 3 and would like to, again,
Dave's
please
already
turn down
spoiled it,
now.
apparently. So.
So, the woman,
Yeah.
You either have the choice.
Just the priestess.
Yes, yeah, the priestess,
Yeah.
sorry. I can't remember exactly what it is, but you have the choice to save your friends,
Yeah.
which is the whole point of the game up
Yeah,
till
but
then.
they're all
Even though they
pricks.
have
They're
access
all
to
fucking
helicopters
pricks.
and boats and all sorts of shit throughout,
Yeah.
they have to get this one plane or whatever it is to actually get off the island.
Oh yeah, that was fucking ridiculous. And you carry on.
So they have the option to save your friends and leave, isn't it, I think?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the option to get with this priestess. She kills all your friends, which you're perfectly fine
Did you
with.
know that before you make the choice?
No, I don't think. Oh, you might know that she's going to kill your friends.
Right, okay.
But what you don't know is that the closing scene is you having sex with her,
Right.
ejaculation occurs, implied pregnancy, and her stabbing you to death while she's on top of you.
Well, I mean, the main character is a bit of a prick, so if there is an ending that involves him dying, I'm not
It's
upset by it.
literal death jizz. No joke. Shall I bring it up right now?
In fairness, you did say that he jizzes himself to death. What he actually does is ejaculates and then gets stabbed to death.
I don't think it's the jizz itself
It's,
that has
it's-
the deathly qualities
So
to it.
there's a slight distinction.
Death jizz, in fact, is a misrepresentation.
But yeah, that game is just fucking mental. I think when they came up with the ending for that game, they probably realised through playtesting or whatever that not many people would ever see the ending of that game. So they were like, we'll just fucking do whatever we want. Nobody's ever going to see it.
What are you doing?
Dave's now watching videos on his phone.
Right.
This is the ending to
I
Far Cry
can't-
3.
We can't see what you're
You
watching.
just need to hear it.
Do we need to hear it?
What's that squishy noise?
This is horrible.
Are they having?
This sounds like a snuff film.
Are they doing the dirty? Oh, Yeah, no.
What kind of sex chat is that? Let his spirit be released. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that was a good one, wasn't it? Jesus Christ.
Oh, this is smashing. Thanks very much, love.
Oh.
That's the jizz. No, it's not really.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell, this guy.
We do have some kind of reputation to
You know,
uphold,
earlier
don't
when I
we?
said it was a bit weird that we're four guys sitting in a room talking about Bayonetta's sexuality and how we feel about that. This is weird. We're four guys in a room listening to the protagonist of Far Cry 3 having sex loudly.
This may be the worst idea Dave's ever had.
This is why Dave gets censored on a. This is quite tame for you.
I didn't make this bloody game. That's it. That's the ending.
Yep.
There you go. Credits.
Is there any kind of
I suspect.
any mention to what that ending in the part of Far Cry 4 that you played? There's no kind of reference.
Oh,
to,
there's no story links between 3 and 4.
That's bloody relieving,
whatsoever.
isn't it?
I mean, that's the Far Cry thing, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Final Fantasy. Every sequel, or every numbered sequel, has nothing to do with the previous story or whatever.
Those were the good days.
Malaria.
Feels a bit insensitive, that does.
So I mean,
Dave.
every Far Cry sequel is a thematic sequel.
Yeah.
But the difference with Far Cry 4 is that it's really obviously borrowing everything from Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 is the template for Far Cry 4 in a way that, 2 didn't take anything from 1, 3 didn't take much from 2. So this is the first time that it's actually felt like a sequel as opposed to just another game under the same banner, if you see what I mean. So it's like the franchise has found its identity now. So
Yeah, I think I
quite like that.
We were talking about this yesterday, but the fact that there is something there to keep you going through the story is going to be important. Because I was one of the people you mentioned before. I had fun with Far Cry 3. I went around, liberated forts, and hunted sharks, and improved my I don't know,
Jim's about to kill someone.
my wallet or whatever it was. But then I was done. I was quite happy. I'd done a lot of the same stuff. One of my favorite characters was no longer in the game. I kind of just went on, and I was happy to leave Far Cry 3 there. So it'd be nice to see Far Cry 4 maybe having some reason to see it through to completion, other than a really weird final scene.
As endings go, at least it was different.
Yeah.
It's mad but different.
Okay, so here's a question that's
follows
relevant.
that quite well.
Cyber Eagle 1X asks, has there ever been a game that you enjoyed a lot but then hated because of its ending? I'm going to say, yeah, Far Cry 3. Had a lot of fun with it, but that ending sounds fucking bizarre. And I feel different now that I know.
Game, I hated it.
That ending.
There are so many games, but what are there?
There are a few games.
There's a massive, obvious one.
But if you're talking about Mass Effect 3, I absolutely don't hate Mass Effect 3 because of its ending.
I don't hate it either. I mean, I certainly don't hate it because of its ending. I mean, because the ending was like the last hour of an experience that was, hundreds of hours.
95% of that game is
me.
bloody excellent.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it.
The thing is, I mean, lots of things I love have shit endings.
Yep.
Fucking Star Trek Next Generation. No, actually, Next Generation's got a really good ending.
Firefly
Deep Space Nine has a little...
here we go again.
Deep Space Nine doesn't have a rubbish ending.
Firefly is wonderful. I don't like how they wrapped it up with Serenity, but I still think Firefly is one of the best things I've ever watched.
Lost.
It was
I
a
love
great
Lost.
journey. Had a lot of fun with it.
Ending was fucking atrocious.
Of course. Yeah, but I don't hate Lost because
Battlestar's
of it.
ending was fucking atrocious.
Pretty much the same ending.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
hate it though.
Absolute nonsense. But, you can't hate the rest of the show for
Exactly. This Battlestar is fucking brilliant. What are you going to say, Dave? Sorry.
Shadow of Mordor. I won't say what it is because it's very recent, but
Yep.
didn't like that ending.
Yeah, but you didn't hate the game because of it. That's the question.
No,
The problem
that's
with
true.
Shadow of Mordor's, and again, not to spoil it, but the problem with Shadow of Mordor's ending is it feels like... I don't want to be disparaging about people who made it, but the ending feels like an ending made by people who have ran out of ideas and money. It just feels...
And then halfway through development, we're like, actually, this is quite good. We might have a sequel
Yeah.
here. So let's just leave it at that.
All right, okay. It's one of those.
Yeah. fantastic.
Within the story
game,
of the
though.
Lord of the Rings, I don't know how that game could have a sequel, but it'll be interesting, I guess.
Doesn't matter. They should just branch it off. They should just say like, this is Middle Earth. This is based on Lord of the Rings, but it's a different continuity. If you're bothered about that,
It's
kind
a different
of stuff,
timeline.
then-
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, fuck it.
Cool. Okay. Nicholas asked on Twitter, should I buy Demolition Girl for the PlayStation 2?
No.
What?
Okay. Jonathan Tipper, how much do you believe special editions of games add to the experience, and are they worth the additional fee? I'm going to say, Dave, you probably got some experience with special editions.
Well, I've told myself now not to bother with any of that tat.
Yeah.
I might buy, the sort of day one edition if there's a little bit DLC. I might get that, but I was a firm believer in, the 130, 150 pound
Oh, really?
super swanky
Give me
editions.
what have you gone through in the past?
Well, all sorts.
What
all
haven't you
sorts.
gone
What's
for?
on your shelves?
Oh,
What-
I've
what
got the
have you
Halo helmet.
Oh, have you?
Do you have a
I've
big
even
like
got the
Gears of
Killzone
War-
helmet.
You hate Killzone, don't you?
Oh, it's terrible. Well, I've got the helmet.
Do the eyes glow?
Wait, Tom's laughing.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus fucking Christ. Have you
no,
got,
I
have
said
you got the
the
Call of
best-
Duty stuff?
I got Modern Warfare 2. Well, I bought the.
I can totally see you fucking dicking around in night vision goggles
I've
like
got
a
the, have you
prick.
got the photo? Have you got the photo? I have to give you the photo for the podcast. We'll put it if you're listening. Look at the YouTube video right now.
Oh, great.
And yes, I got the night vision goggles. Very expensive they were.
I
But
know.
then I picked it up on the
The
cheap.
night vision goggles.
I think it was the hardened edition at Game
Hardened. Wait.
that also had a Soap McTavish model. I was like, yeah, I'll have that. I went, gee, I'll have that.
Yeah, cheers, nice one. Cheers.
I've got the
there you
Halo Reach thing. Got Max Payne 3 collectors.
are. But you sound quite
The
positive
best
about
one,
this.
the best one, is the Crisis 2 one. That was great. Do you remember it?
Why? What
It was
did-
the little model, and it was what was his name? The Crisis dude.
Ghost? Was it Ghost?
No, not Ghost.
I think this sums up Crisis 2 very well.
Anyway, the Crisis
What was
2
his name?
dude,
The
he was climbing over.
Nano Man.
Yeah, Nano Man.
That was it.
Climbing over a taxi, and he's there with his gun. The taxi's destroyed, and the taxi's lights still work. You put batteries in it, they come on.
What a fucking useless feature.
His little shiny things on his suit come on. Really good. That's the best. And it came with a bag. I use the bag all the time. It's the worst bag ever, but I use it.
I'm not against like gaming merchandise. I've been tempted by some
Yes,
of the
you are.
Dota 2 Secret Shop stuff. I won't lie, but I don't know special editions. I've never really been.
It
that
depends
fussed by
what they are. Like I bought the Ripley edition of Alien
Mm.
first, but then these days, if I buy that stuff, I tend to get it when it's cheap to pre-order.
Yeah.
Like if there's a discount or whatever, and then I'll get it. So I still buy it. It's just that the kind of super collectible stuff with the models. And
Your
things like
shelves must be absolutely full with
Do you know
your
what I-
Skylanders and your.
that. Yeah, oh, they are.
your
They are.
goggles.
I'm starting to grow up, and I'm starting to think actually, I should probably.
You were not starting to grow up. You just laughed at the word hardened.
I think what I realised was I thought, oh, when it was like Halo Reach and all that, it came with all these models and stuff. Oh yeah, I'll have that. I'll have that. But then it dawned on me that those sort of models are sold by, whatever the shop may be. What's the shop down there over the road?
Like
PlayStation
Forbidden Planet.
games.
Forbidden Planet. Like shops like that, they sell these models.
And you can
Like-
get better ones as well.
Exactly, for the similar amount of money. And I was like, oh, what's the point?
I won't like. I think this is maybe a bit snobby as well, but if I were to buy some merch, I kind of want something that's a bit different than everyone else has, and I feel like special editions are
That is
designed for everyone
snobby.
else to have.
That's really
Kind of
snobby.
want. I feel like if I'm going to collect something, it should have an amount of rarity attached
I
to
do
it.
quite like. Do you remember like the Halo Wars collector's edition? Where it had like a bigger, thicker
Nobody remembers
case
the
and the
Halo
steel.
Wars
You
collector's
go for
edition.
steel boxes, steel cases, so they're your thing.
The ones that kind of are a little bit bigger.
When did that? I remember that starting around Dead Island on the Xbox 360. That had a nice steel book.
Did it?
Yeah. Did you ever get Dead Island Steelbook on Xbox 360?
Don't think I did. No.
Mm.
I mean, I'd regret it now if I did.
Jim, have you ever bought a special edition or something?
No.
Would you?
No.
I think I would. Either. All right.
It's just, I don't have money.
No, that's it.
Yeah, Dave is mega rich, which was just help in these situations.
That's so wrong on so many levels.
Should we cut that? Is that something needs cutting?
No, leave that in so he learns.
Amelia asks, since that Halloween thing is coming, what spooky themed game, not necessarily horror, is your favourite? I guess to narrow that down, is your favourite first time of year as well? Do you go to any horror games in particular? When it's,
Resident
What,
Evil
do I
4
return to horror games?
Resident Evil 4 is the best horror game ever. But it's not horror in the same sense that, say, PT
Yeah,
is
that's fine.
horror,
That's
but
fine.
it is a horror game.
They tend to put new horror games out around then anyway, don't they? Don't really need to
you
go
haven't got
back to them.
You haven't got a classic?
I don't have
that
a
you like to
go-to
do?
horror game.
there any like Halloween-centric games that
Costume
are great?
Quest.
Costume Quest is
Oh,
brilliant.
yeah.
I don't know what the sequel's like, but I love the first one.
I've been playing around with it a little bit. I'm not sure it's my type of game, to be honest. It's
turn-based, Chris.
Yeah, but it's very, very
I wish they
repetitive.
did more themed stuff like that. If they put out a Christmas DLC for something, I would buy it.
Yep.
And I would
Christmas
play it
nights,
at Christmas.
Christmas nights.
Oh man,
Exactly, stuff like that.
Simpsons
Why not
Hit
do
and
that?
Run. I got that for Christmas one year, right?
But that's not Christmas
No,
themed.
no. Listen, Simpsons Hit and Run had the PC version. It knows the date. I
Wow.
got it for Christmas. You put it in, and in the menu, usually in the menu, it's just Homer sleeping on the sofa. If you play it on Christmas Day, it's snowing outside, and Homer's in a Santa costume.
Oh,
That stuff's
that's
cool.
a good touch.
That's why I like Animal
That's
Crossing.
beautiful. So
Very nice. All right. John Barlow asks, when are the reviewsicles going to return? It's been far too long.
Well, Jim's the only one that can sing.
Yeah, when
I can't even do it very well.
when we get the time for it and the game is right, I guess is the answer.
You
to
know,
that.
you know what? I like the reviewsicles, but I think they wore a little bit thin. They wore a little bit thin to watch and do. So
Should we do musicals?
Wouldn't that only amplify the problem? I don't know. I think there's still room for them. I just think by the end of it, because we were having them on a regular basis,
but
it didn't work.
I think these things will come in cycles because especially this time of year, things are so busy with everything that's coming out. And
I do kind of wish we'd done that Destiny one to the tune of Destiny is Calling Me, but
yeah, we
we'll
keep
replace
having
calling-
ideas for reviews.
1080p me one more time. 1080. How was I supposed to know
no.
that you were only 900?
So back to Jim being
There you go.
young,
There's your reviewsical. But no, I mean, there's some stuff that it's not just reviewsicals. It's like, the Tam and Gleesh stuff and the old ass stuff has slowed down, and all the general sort of silly stuff that me and Chris did quite a lot of a few months back has slowed down because there's actual work to do. So
Although we might be seeing a very special video soon.
yes, yeah.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
My confidence in that has dropped significantly.
It depends how much of a video we can make out of the mess that we made the other day. But that stuff, including the musicals, I'm sure will start coming back as the schedule.
I think the mistake we've maybe made is when
off.
we've tried to have like a particular kind of every 2 weeks this happens, every 1 week this happens,
Yeah.
and sometimes it can feel a bit forced.
The Old Times Response Unit as well. I love doing those, but that was again sort of.
I miss those. I miss them more than reviewsicals.
But that stuff will come back soon. It's just you can't keep doing the same thing all year, and things have to go in cycles.
Variety is
like a TV
spicy
series
and all
that
that.
We
never
will
ends.
see reviewsicals again.
David Hollingsworth, this whole Drive Club situation is crazy.
I was just thinking about that actually, that we hadn't mentioned
You're
it.
always thinking about Drive Club.
But
though,
do you
so-
think it's putting people off buying what I believe is a solid racer? Well, yeah, I do.
Do I think it's
them
putting
off.
people off, or do I think it should put people off?
I feel that you can't see either of those questions.
Do I think it's putting people off? Yes, because it is. Do I feel it should put people off? Yes, because it should.
Yep. Excellent. Good.
Now, I know I wrote the review and I actually gave it a higher score than most people did, but without the online stuff, I'm not entirely sure that I'd recommend it in its current state.
I put it on last night, and it just feels like dead when it's not online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
see,
I get
essentially-
people tweeting me going, "You were right. Drive Club's really great fun." I'm like, but you haven't seen what it's all about yet. So you love it now. You're gonna explode in joy.
You're going to death
when those
jizz when you see
exactly the death
the
jizz
online
will
features.
appear.
It's the thing. It should put people off for the simple fact that it's not working as fucking advertised right now, and that's the end of it.
It's really scary though that it's even happened. Like the amount of problem. Like it launched where just North America essentially. That was.
Yeah, for a few
And-
days it was just North America.
And only to people that had bought the game. So there wasn't with the free. Well, I'm not going to say free because people think they're paying for it, which they are. But all right, it's not. But PS Plus edition doesn't have the PS Plus edition, which they must have expected. How many PS4 owners are there now?
a lot.
10 million at least.
Mm.
Is that right? And
Quite a lot of PlayStation Plus members.
the rate of that, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's high. they must have expected millions
And
of people to test that.
It's strange, isn't it? Because like a lot of games with heavy online features on launch day, you're gonna often see problems because the servers that they've invested in, they've invested the amount they think is going to be like the constant rate of users, right? Whereas if you make a big investment on the server side and try and accommodate everyone at the beginning, it can often prove too expensive as it goes on. But this is just so far the other way.
From what they've said, I'm not even sure it's just, the number of servers that's the issue. I think they've got plenty of servers available based on what they're saying.
So what's the problem?
They are talking about it's the server software. And it kind of sounds like the amount of data that is being passed between different players, because it gives you a lot of information. It's constantly updating. And it's automatically tracking all of your data in each race as well. It's not like you have to manually go, save that and send that off to my mate. It will automatically save every race, filter that through to everybody. And it essentially sounds like it's almost DDoSing their own bloody servers. But how they didn't see that coming, I've no idea.
Like I said to you, I don't understand why there wasn't a big open beta, because it seems like if that had happened and they'd have got, I don't know, 1 million people playing it, they'd have noticed this straight away. Maybe the game would have been delayed, who knows? But at least they'd have spotted it.
It's a weird one. And I get the impression it's not something that's going to be fixed quickly, because if you have like significant server stuff like that, and if it's the software that needs to be rewritten, that's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
So
I do wonder if it's going to, obviously waiting for this to be fixed, but how's that going to affect other stuff that they've got planned? Like they've already been talking about updates for like the weather, the replays.
And they promised that for this year
all that
as
stuff.
well.
Is that all going to get pushed back? I don't know.
I would assume it would have to.
Weather. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, there we are.
It's a shame. It is a shame because it is a good game when it's online. But
it's a shame also because it's going to lose a lot of that launch hype. Like when it gets fixed, there'll be other stuff. Like people will be moved on.
It's screwed, really, isn't it?
You'd think of all the things that Sony needs to get right this year, this Christmas, launching Drive Club was probably the priority. I'd have thought for them, but. Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that studio right now. As mean as that might sound, I think
the fact that they've got some updates planned, like the weather, they've got to make sure whenever that gets released, the game is perfect, because that'll bring people back, and it needs to be running flawlessly at that point to get them hooked again.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, we haven't got any voicemails this week because I didn't grab them. But
so we have got voicemails.
We're going to save them for next week. David, would you like to read? Do you remember your tune that you did? Would you like to read out the podcast number?
I would, but I can't remember how I said it.
Just freestyle. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, this is the number that you can call.
02034 754 736 02034 754 736. Would you like me to repeat?
No,
Would you like me to repeat?
That's fine.
02034 754 736.
Take it off him. Take it off him.
754
I'm going to have to.
You're messed as the host.
347.
There we are. Oh, that's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, well, there is a podcast competition that you can enter as well. We're asking people to... October's a very busy month. We're worried that Power Rangers Super Mega Force
I forgot about
for the 3DS is going to get swept under the rug. I'm going to put you back on now, Dave.
There's a question on here that you haven't asked.
I'm going to put you down again. We're worried that it's going to get swept under the rug. People are going to forget about it. We're asking you to come up with some way of aggressively marketing
free mints.
This 3DS title. And you can win a free video game of your choice. I'm going to put you back on, Dave.
Or mints.
You good?
Now there are a few horror games out there.
That was good. And he's gone. And yeah, you can win a game. It's on the forums. Go to videogame.com. You'll be able to find it. And there'll probably be a link in the description. Hope you enjoyed this week's Video Gamer UK podcast. It's been a real treat, I must say.
It's been a riot.
So
I've loved it.
Thank you to everyone for listening. And thank you to my co-hosts, Tom Ori.
Goodbye.
David Scammell.
Shut up.
Mr. Jim Trinker.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.